Have you ever done a science experiment and wondered what it'd be like if you did it big? I have. My name is Phil, and I take your everyday science experiments and do them big. This is Science Max, Experiments at Large. Science Max! Electromagnets are magnets you can turn on or off when you want. We build our own electromagnet and see just how powerful we can make it.
It held 100 kilograms.
Plus ferrofluid, wizards, and I tried to get to the North Pole using a compass. Now that I'm here, I realize it's really difficult. All on this episode of Science Max, Experiments at Large. Greetings, Science Maximites. My name is Phil, and welcome to Science Max Experiments at Large. At this very moment, half the lab is being held together with the power of electromagnets. And Magnet 1 turning off. Electromagnets are a really cool and powerful way to interact with the world. And when I say power, that's because you need power to make them work or not work. Magnetism is an invisible force that has to do with the magnetic fields created by magnets that lets them attract things that are metal or each other. But electromagnetism is a little different. You see, magnets are magnets all the time. It's because of what they're made out of. Electromagnets are only a magnet when you have an electric current going through them, which means you can turn them on or off. Today, we're going to be building an electromagnet. Oh, that was the wrong switch. Anyway, like I was saying, today we're going to be building an electromagnet. You need a bunch of copper wire, a very large nail, or something metal to become your electromagnet, electrical tape, a battery, an on-off switch, wire strippers or a craft knife, and the help of an adult, and finally, something to magnetize, like these paper clips. To begin, take the copper wire and start at the top of the nail. Leave a little bit of wire sticking out, then carefully start to wrap the wire around the nail. Don't go all the way to the end because you need some metal to turn into the magnet. Instead, when you want to start again, run the wire straight back to the top and start wrapping again in the same direction. And keep wrapping and wrapping until you get to this. Now, I've used some electrical tape here, here, and here to hold it all together. Using your wire strippers or a craft knife and the help of an adult, remove the plastic coating from the ends of the wires. Attach these wires to the wires from the on-off switch with electrical tape, or attach them directly to a battery if you don't have an on-off switch. And ta-da, you have an electromagnet with your on-off switch. All you need to do is take the things you're going to magnetize, turn your electromagnet on, and suddenly it becomes a magnet. Pretty amazing, ha 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 ha. And then you can magnetize to your heart's content. But when you're done, don't forget, you want to turn it off. So that's what we're gonna do today on Science Max, Experiments at Large. We're gonna max out the electromagnet. So, where's my lab coat? Oh, there it is. We're gonna see how big we can make an electromagnet. And when I say we, I mean me and an expert. Let's see. Oh, Heather from the Ontario Science Centre. She knows her way around magnets. So let's see. Yeah. I wonder if she's busy. Well, let's find out. And after we're done, I'll need to come back and clean up the giant mess I made in the lab. Hi, Heather. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see you, Phil.
I was just wondering if you could help me with something. Are you busy?
No, I got time. I got time.
Okay, great, because I'm going to make a giant electromagnet experiment, and I need your help.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Okay, great. Let's go back to Science Max headquarters.
Oh, via the portal?
Yeah, by the portal.
Okay.
You sure? I know you're hesitant, so I want to reassure you, nothing will go wrong.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Oh, hey, we're here.
Sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, I think definitely.
It's fine.
You all right?
Yeah, I was supposed to come in over there, but I came in over here. Oh well. So today, Heather, I want to max out the electromagnet. Turn it on, and it's a magnet.
Pretty good.
And turn it off, and it stops being a magnet. I want to make this into a much bigger, maxed out version.
All right.
So what are some of the things we can do to do that?
Well, actually, if you have a larger battery, one that has a higher voltage, we can try that for sure.
Okay,
that
so
will help.
there are batteries that are 12 volts?
Yes.
We could try one of those?
it a try,
I think
for
those
sure.
are like bigger, right?
Yeah, bigger, more powerful, absolutely. Now, that's one thing you could do. You can also increase the number of wraps of our coil here.
So how many times we wrap that wire?
Yes, we'll increase that magnetic field, making our magnet stronger.
And of course the nail, which is important because that's the thing that eventually becomes the magnet, right?
Right on, yes.
So what I thought we would do is we would start with a bigger nail.
Oh.
What, right? So larger battery,
Yes.
more voltage, and a lot more wraps of the wire.
Right on, and we have more space for that now, which is smart. Good job.
Great, okay, so we'll get to work.
Great.
Max Historica.
If you've ever seen a compass, you know that the needle points north. That's because a compass needle is a magnet, and it points towards the Earth's magnetic North Pole. And I'm using this compass to try to get to the North Pole. But it isn't easy. In fact, scientists knew there was such a thing as the North Pole as far back as the 16th century, but no one was able to actually get there on foot until 1927. You'd think it wouldn't be that hard, right? I mean, the needle points you straight there. Just follow the needle, right? But now that I'm here, I realize it's really difficult. I mean, the wind is incredible and the snow is intense and it's so cold. My hands, yeah. So, okay, we're not really at the North Pole. We were just sort of recreating that. But still, I salute the brave explorers who tried to make it there in the name of science. And I got a sense of it because the wind from the fan and the fake snow was. Okay, everybody, let's pack it up. I mean, that was pretty good. I just didn't know about that other camera.
So, back to our main experiment, where Heather and I are building a larger electromagnet. An electromagnet works like this. When an electric current is traveling through a wire, it creates a magnetic field. If you wrap that wire around something ferromagnetic, that's something made out of a metal that is attracted to magnets, like an iron nail, then it becomes a magnet. You can make a magnet stronger by wrapping more wire, which gives more distance for the current to travel, increasing the magnetic field, and you can also increase the strength of the current. Heather and I start with a coil of 30 meters of wire and start wrapping. And wrapping. And wrapping.
There, the wire is now all done. And remember, if you're doing this at home, do not use a drill unless you have an adult to help you out because drills can be very dangerous. This one goes at a very slow speed, so it was okay. But yes, definitely an adult supervised activity.
Then we attach another on-off switch and make some leads that connect to a 12-volt battery. So, more wraps of wire and more current means the electromagnet should be stronger.
Okay, so we're gonna try this electromagnet and we're gonna pick up this stuff right here.
Great.
Ready?
You ready?
Yeah.
3,
2, 1, go! Is it on?
Yeah.
Wow, it really does, you can't tell it's on, but.
No, but bring it closer and.
Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, let me turn it off.
All right.
Let's see if this nail can pick up this nail.
All right.
Ready?
Ready?
Go. Oh. Okay, how about this side? Oh, no. No.
I don't think we're strong enough.
It's not strong enough. I think that we need to max this out even more.
Even more?
Right.
So I'm thinking there are a lot of appliances that use electromagnets, meaning it's already set up, it already has tightly wound coils and high voltage. So we're in a lab here. Maybe do you have old appliances around?
I have parts bins with a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe we could find some electromagnets in those.
Let's do it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, pliers. wires, battery, copper wire. Now, if you've already done the electromagnet experiment, here's another experiment that uses all the same materials, plus these. Ha! Neodymium magnets, some of the strongest magnets you can get. So, here's what you need.
A battery, some neodymium magnets the same diameter as your battery, copper wire, and some pliers.
So here's what you do. First thing is you put the batteries and the magnets together like that. Then what you want to do is bend the wire so it's touching the top of the battery and goes around the battery and then touches the magnets at the bottom. Here's what that might look like. I say might because you can do any shape you want. I've made a coil here, and if you put it over the battery, you'll see it only touches the very top of the battery and the magnets at the bottom. And if I let it go, it spins. It's a homopolar motor. What happens is the battery sends an electric current through the copper wire, and that turns it into an electromagnet, which is attracted to the magnets at the bottom, and it spins. So now let's max it out. Aha! A D-cell battery, which is larger and, of course, larger neodymium magnets. And you do the same thing. Make a coil that only touches the battery at the top and at the magnet, and aha! It spins! Maxed out homopolar motor. But don't worry, this is not the biggest size we're gonna do. Come on. Maxed out homopolar motor. I have 27 D-cell batteries, a giant copper tube, and a neodymium magnet. So I'm just gonna, and then we get rid of that. Put this down. Okay, so the first thing I do is attach the neodymium magnet to the batteries. And I've got all the batteries taped together here so they'll sort of stand up like this. Huh? Giant stack of D-cell batteries. Okay, now what I do is I take the copper coil. I take the copper coil. I need to get. Okay, hold on. I got this. I just need to get the copper coil there. I did it. Okay, so I take the copper and I put it on top of the D-cell batteries like this, and then I let it go. Let it go. Nope, whoa. Homopolar motor. Okay, so that didn't work. But that's okay. I like it when it doesn't work, because that's science. It's not science if it works perfectly every time. I mean, you gotta have some room for improvement.
Heather and I built a larger electromagnet, but it still wasn't as powerful as we hoped. So now we're searching for parts that came out of an appliance that are pre-built electromagnets.
What about this?
I think that'll do the trick.
Do you think that does look like an electromagnet, huh?
It does, yeah.
And there's a whole big bunch of copper wires coiled on
Coiled
that.
around.
So you think we can use this?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay, great.
We built the next version of the electromagnet. This one already has the copper coils, so it's just a matter of attaching wires and an on-off switch, and attaching all of it to a 12-volt battery.
Do you think 12 volts will be enough?
Let's find out. I think so.
Try that.
Once we do, it works much better.
Oh, no problem at all.
Ready?
Yep, turn it on.
On.
Whoa, pretty good. Okay, off.
Off.
Neat. In case it was really strong, I have the next step. Horseshoe. Okay, ready? Oh, whoa, that's...
Here.
I can't pull that off. Okay, wait, grab this. Okay.
Work together.
Yep. So that's passed all of our tests.
Yeah.
This is really strong.
Is there a way to test it further?
In order to test how strong our magnet is, it's as easy as seeing how much weight it'll lift. Heather and I find a metal table.
All right, Phil, so I brought the electromagnet.
Okay.
Just put it right here.
Yep. We add some sandbags for more weight and then attach a scale so we can measure how much weight we're lifting. We use a chain hoist, a simple machine made for lifting heavy things. This one can hold up to 454 kilograms.
Want to turn it on?
Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
You can read on the scale how much weight is being lifted.
And that scale is going up.
Pounds on this side, kilograms on this side. We keep lifting until...
Oh! Okay, so how much did it hold?
It held 100 kilograms.
Oh, that's more than I weigh, which gives me an idea. Come on.
This is ferrofluid. It is ferromagnetic, which means it's attracted to magnets. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, it's not that interesting. Well, watch as I put it next to this magnet. Very interesting. And because it's a liquid, it behaves in very interesting ways. Watch this. Unlike most things ferromagnetic, like paper clips or iron filings, ferrofluid is a liquid, which means it behaves in a unique way. The spikes it creates are following the magnetic field lines of the magnet. You can see the magnetic field in 3D. It's even more impressive when we max it out. This is ferrofluid outside of a glass jar. Now, it's sitting in a pool around this electromagnet. And this is a dial which I can use to change the voltage of the electromagnet, making the magnet stronger. Watch this. Changing the current going to the spiral in the middle turns it into a magnet. The more current I put in, the stronger that magnet becomes, allowing the ferrofluid to climb the spiral to the top. And remember, even though it looks all spiky, it's still a liquid. I will demonstrate with my plastic spoon. And watch this. When I turn the magnet off, it stops being spiky. Turn it on. Turn it off. Science.
The Wizard Academy. All you have to do is demonstrate true magic. And you will be granted entry. Well, Fuzzix, who is the next applicant for the Wizard Academy?
Overwhelmo.
Indeed, it is I, Overwhelmo. And prepare to be overwhelmed. Would you be flabbergastified if I balanced this coin on its end? Not really, no. But would you be impressed if I was to balance this coin on top of this coin? Possibly. Prepare to be flustered and stupefied. Stupeflustered as I balance 3 coins on their ends on top of this glass.
Well, that certainly would seem like magic. Let us see.
Okay. No pressure, Overwhelmo. You can do this.
And now, I say, a magic word.
A magic word! Ha 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 ha! And now you must let me into your academy.
Wait. What's under the cloth?
What cloth? This cloth? Nothing! Oh!
Is that a magnet?
This? No!
The pull of the magnet is what's keeping those coins up. The magnet is just strong enough to keep the coins from falling.
No! This is set dressing. It's just...
It was a good trick, but it's science, not magic.
Well, yes. And you will see! You will see! I will be back! I, Overwhelmo, will return! And I will do such magic that you will need extra socks. Because I will knock them off with my magic. You will need at least 2 pairs of socks, maybe 3 pairs of socks.
We can still see you.
No, you can't.
So back to our main experiment. Heather and I have created a very strong electromagnet that can hold a lot of weight.
It held 100 kilograms.
Oh, which gave me an idea.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Electromagnets super maxed out experiment. We've got,
2 electromagnets, 1, 2.
and those are wired to 2 batteries, which are on my belt, just like this, so that I can carry them around. And we've got a crash mat here. Because
We need to keep you safe because you're going to be using these electromagnets to get across this massive beam above us.
that's right. I'm gonna stick to this metal beam and go across with the electromagnets.
Wow.
We hope.
I have faith.
I'm glad you do. I've got helmet for safety, goggles for safety, gloves for safety, but in this case, sometimes the lab coat is more safe and sometimes it's less safe. This time, it will get all caught up, so no lab coat. All right, you ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
My goodness. What?
Okay.
Because each of our electromagnets can hold more than my whole body weight, I can use them to cross the beam. When they're on, they stick like, well, magnets. And when I turn them off, they stop being magnets and I can move them along as I go. Now, this is something you should definitely not try at home.
Come on, Phil. You're almost there.
We did it! Yeah! There you go, Science Max, experiments at large, electromagnets. You wanna go?
No,
You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay, I'm going again. Woohoo!
Crazy.
Oh, careful. Don't mess it up, Overwhelmo.
Overwhelmer.
Send in the next applicant for the Wizard Academy.
Overwhelmer.
And now, I say the magic word.
Overwhelmer.
I say the magic word. The magic word!
Well, that certainly does seem like magic, yep.
As I balanced out one coin, not 2 coins. That's a 3.
Have you ever done a science experiment and wondered what it'd be like if you did it big? I have. My name is Phil, and I take your everyday science experiments and do them big. This is Science Max, Experiments at Large. Science Max! This episode of Science Max is all about vibration and frequency. Frequency and vibration. What's the difference? We build a maxed out vibrobot, spin a giant disc, suspend water, and play with lasers. All on this episode of Science Max, Experiments at Large.
Greetings, Science Maximites, and welcome to Science Max Experiments at Large. My name is Phil, and today on Science Max Experiments at Large, we're going to be looking at vibration. Vibration is when things go back and forth, and back and forth. All kinds of things vibrate, like pendulums. Pendulums. Wait, and pendulums. Pendulums are designed to swing back and forth. Stop that. Also, metronomes. Metronomes are used by people when they're practicing music to keep accurate time. Yeah. Okay, putting it back. And okay. We're gonna be building. Whoa, okay. We're gonna be building this little guy. This is a vibrobot, and he vibrates and he skitters around on the paper. And if we take the caps off the markers, he makes interesting patterns on the paper. Okay, so let's get started. Let's build a vibrobot. Okay. Oh yeah, you know what? Maybe it's time to take off the ski boots, huh? Whew. There we go, that's better. So today, like I said, we're gonna be making a vibrobot. And here are all the materials you need to make your own. Plastic cup, 3 markers, an electric motor, just make sure you ask an adult first, a battery, a plastic drink bottle cap, a toothpick, scissors. This kind of tape is called electrical tape. Science tape, which is the same as invisible tape, but of course I use this tape only for science. And some modeling clay. And these are 2 bendy straws that I've taped googly eyes to. These are not necessary. I just like them for decoration. First, you're gonna make the feet for your Vibrobot. So I attach some science tape to the markers, and then I put the marker on the bottom of the cup. And then I do that again to the next marker, and then the third, balance it like that. There. Next thing you want to do is take your plastic drink bottle cap and make a hole with a toothpick. You want to make it off to the side, right about there. Just like that. That's so when it turns, it will be off center. That's what's gonna give us our vibration. So once you've made that hole, take some modeling clay and stick it in the cap to give it some weight. When you've done that, stick it onto the shaft of your motor like this. See how it's off center there? Now we just need to attach it to the Vibrobot. I just put it right here on the top, and I like to attach the battery to the back of the cup. And now, finally, we're going to attach the eyes. We take some science tape, and we put the straws over here. I am Vibrobot. I am here to vibrate. Take me to your leader. So then, you attach your tape with the wire to the top of the battery there, and then the other wire to the bottom of the battery, just like that, and let your Vibrobot make some art. Ha 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 ha. Now, if the battery is new, your Vibrobot might be jumping up and down quite a bit. So you can do what I like to do and add some more weight, and then you make better lines with your Vibrobot. And your Vibrobot makes art. How long will he last? Probably till lunch. And there you go, Vibrobot art. Art made by a robot. How cool is that? So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna meet Chris from Logix Academy, and he's gonna help me max out the Vibrobot. Plus, we're gonna learn a little bit more about vibration. Come on. Oh, hey, Chris.
Oh, hey, Phil.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
Okay, here's your Science Max lab coat.
Thank you.
So you guys at Logix Academy, you also build a Vibrobot, right?
That's right, we do.
This is mine, and it works pretty well.
That's awesome.
So I want to max this out.
Cool.
So I thought we would start with, instead of this motor, we would start with this motor.
Wow.
It used to be a round circle, but I cut it off so that it's off center.
Perfect.
I've also got, this is our battery.
Fantastic.
That's as far as I've gotten so far.
Well, it looks like we need a frame next.
Right, something to be the cup.
That's right.
So we just need some sort of larger cup.
Ooh, how about that metal shelf over there?
Oh, this thing?
Yeah.
This is just something I keep my parts on.
It's perfect.
Really?
Yep, the shelves will house everything that we need, and it looks like it'll be strong enough to hold everything together.
Now, the Vibrobot had markers on the bottom of it.
That's right.
To make a little pattern. Should we try that with this?
Because we're going bigger, what if we use paint and paintbrushes instead?
Okay, sure. We could attach paintbrushes to the leg. Pass me one. All right, so now all we need to do is get some paint and some paper.
That's right.
And we can fire it up. Okay, let's move it over this way. Vibration and frequency. What's the difference? They're all connected. Ta-da! Now, whoa. Vibration is things going back and forth. Back and forth. And back and forth. It's a cycle. Cycle, 25 bucks. Oh yeah, it's the wrong kind of cycle. Never mind. Well, if that's vibration, then what's frequency? Well, frequency is a measure of how fast or slow, how frequent those vibrations happen. Look at this bowling ball. Look. It is swinging back and forth, but not very fast. You could say it has a low frequency. We measure all kinds of things by their frequency. This thing is terrifying. When you turn the dial on your radio, you're tuning in to different frequencies of radio waves. Hey, look at this punching balloon. It's going very fast. You could say it has a high frequency. So, now you know. Vibration is something going back and forth, and frequency is how quickly it does it. Ramona, the bowling ball keeps coming through everything. How do you turn it off? Okay, back to our main experiment. Chris and I are taking a Vibrobot and maxing it out. We have a large motor and a battery, and we're taping it all to some shelving. Just like our small Vibrobot, our motor needs something to make it unbalanced when it spins.
That's what will cause the vibrations.
It's just taped. I haven't attached it in any other way. Do you think that's okay?
As an engineer, I have superior faith in duct tape.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
We're also adding an on-off switch and some paintbrushes on the bottoms of the legs so our maxed out Vibrobot can make art just like the small one. The final step, dipping the brushes in paint and setting it on a big piece of paper. We fire it up and it immediately shakes everything off the shelves.
It totally spilled all the stuff on the shelves.
The motor shakes the Vibrobot a lot. But there's a problem. All that shaking is starting to take its toll on the shelves. The wheels come off, the screws come out, and finally...
Whoa. It totally shook itself apart.
Destroyed itself.
The shelving unit just completely falls apart when it's being shaken.
Vibration is really hard on the structure of an object. We need something more sturdy, something that can take weight.
Steps, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this looks much better.
Okay, great. So we build the new Vibrobot out of this. So more paintbrushes,
Bigger motor, more paint,
more everything.
more everything.
All right, good. This is a pendulum. It's just a weight suspended on a line and anchored from above. Pretty simple. Pendulums were used for hundreds of years for all kinds of reasons, but most famously in clocks. Why were pendulums used in clocks? Well, here's why. Let's mark every time the pendulum hits the bottom of the swing right here. Okay, watch. All right, now here's the question. How fast will the beeps be if I swing it from much higher up? Let's find out.
No matter how high the pendulum swings, it keeps the same frequency. That's why they were used in clocks, because it could swing for a long while, and even though it would lose energy, it would still keep perfect time. The frequency of a pendulum doesn't change, no matter how high it swings or how much weight is on the bottom. The frequency comes from how long the line is.
Now this is a pendulum wave.
Because each bowling ball has a line that's a different length, they have a slightly different frequency. They start out swinging together, but soon they start to make interesting patterns. Remember, each pendulum is keeping its own perfect time, even if it's slowing down. It's only the length of the line that gives each pendulum a different frequency.
And now we're gonna max it out with well, I guess these are already bowling balls, so this is already pretty maxed out. I'm just gonna leave that there. These are balloons. This is a laser, and these are awesome laser safety glasses. Now, lasers are made of light, and light has a frequency. In fact, each color of light has a different frequency. This is a red laser. Check it out. Yeah, cool. This is also a very powerful laser. Oh, I can pop the blue balloon with the red laser because the blue absorbed the red light from the laser and then it heated up and the balloon popped. But here's the cool thing. I cannot pop a red balloon with a red laser because the red balloon reflects the red light from the red laser and I can't pop it. If I wanted to pop a balloon with a red laser, I need to use a darker balloon, one that absorbs the red light, like a black balloon. So there you go. Lasers, frequencies of light. I'm gonna keep this red balloon because it's always nice to have a balloon.
Chris and I are maxing out the Vibrobot, but our last version shook itself apart. Now the plan is to start with something more solid and try again. We found some very solid steps and added an even bigger motor, an even bigger battery, and attached a half-circle wheel to make the vibrations when the motor spins. We add some paintbrushes and fire it up.
And here we go! Come on!
Go, Vibrobot!
It wants to move.
Is it moving at all? So it's still not working. It's sort of getting caught in the paper, and it's on the paintbrushes.
And the paintbrushes seem to be absorbing too much vibration, and then the paper's stopping it as well.
So why don't we remove the paintbrushes?
Yeah.
And we might as well remove the paper if we don't have any more paintbrushes.
Yes.
And we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. No paintbrushes, no paper.
Okay.
Now let's try it. 3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah! Aha! It's moving. Not bad.
The shaking is good, but I don't know if the shaking is enough. So what do we do?
Well, we could add another battery.
Another battery which would give it more power?
That's right.
Okay, let's try that.
Okay.
Okay, so it wasn't working before.
No.
Not enough power. And now we've got a second battery here.
That's right. We've wired them up so that one power feeds into the other, so we've got twice as much juice as we did.
So it's just a matter of clipping this onto there.
That's right, but hold on.
Yeah, safety glasses, because now we don't know what's going to happen anymore. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
The extra battery makes a big difference. The new Vibrobot shakes around and only shakes itself apart a little.
All right, that was amazing. Okay, so all we needed was more power.
That's right. I think it didn't have enough power to vibrate up and down, and that's why it wasn't moving every time it hit the ground.
So I think if we're gonna use this much power, I think we need to build it again.
Okay.
Build it even stronger and with a bigger motor
Yeah?
and more power. And then maybe I ride it. But you think we can build that?
Of course.
Of course. Okay, let's do it. You want to see something cool? I can make this water levitate, defy gravity using the power of science. You want to see? Behold! Gravity-defying water. I can even make the water go very slowly. Or I can make the water go back up into the hose. Or I can make the water completely stop. You know what's interesting? The water does not seem to be stopped for me. You see stopped water because you are looking at it through a TV camera. See? Real life TV camera. Real life TV camera. You see, movie cameras and TV cameras take a whole bunch of still photos and then run them together really, really fast. 24 times a second for our TV cameras. I have created a device that drops water at 24 times a second. And what happens is everything lines up. So it looks like the water drops aren't moving. But watch this. I grab the hose and it's fine. But I let it go, and the hose is vibrating back and forth at exactly the same time the camera shutter is going back and forth, and everything looks like it stopped. The power of frequency has defied gravity. Okay, so not really. It's kind of a camera trick, but I prefer to call it science. Here's a fun way to play with things going back and forth. This is Euler's disk, and it's designed to spin like this. What's going on is friction and gravity are slowing that down and pulling it towards the Earth. Now, you don't need a fancy disc like this to do this at home. All you need is a pot lid. Check it out.
When the pot lid spins, friction and gravity start to slow it down, which means each spin gets lower and lower, and the frequency gets higher and higher. But the difference between a pot lid and Euler's disk is Euler's disk is made to go for as long as possible. The heavy puck has a slightly rounded edge and sits on a glass surface that is slightly concave, like a bowl. All of this is designed to make Euler's disk last a really long time, which is quite a while. But eventually, friction and gravity pull the disk down, and finally, it stops.
Pretty amazing, right? Well, wait till we maxed it out. This is Trevor, head of the Science Max build team. Hey. Thanks for setting this up, Trevor. So what is this?
This is a giant side of a spool, big hydro spool.
Okay, so this is the largest disc that we could totally find, and we've got it all hooked up here. We lift it up, we spin it, and then you pull the thing and it will drop down and spin like a coin, because it's the only way we can do that with something this heavy.
Yeah.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Trevor and I hoist it up and get it suspended above the ground. Then I start to wind it up.
Ready?
When it's going fast enough,
And go, Trevor!
Trevor pulls the release and it turns out a 200-kilogram spinning disc works exactly the same. As it spins and rolls, gravity and friction work on it, and the frequency speeds up as it gets closer to the ground until it stops.
Giant Oilers disc. Nicely done, Trevor.
That was awesome.
That was great. Let's do it again.
All right.
Our Vibrobot was working well, so that means it's time to make it way bigger. We started with a big metal table and added a huge motor, one 20 times as powerful as the last one. Instead of batteries giving us 12 volts of power, we're going to use a plug, which is 10 times more power. We've added an off-center wheel for vibration, bolted the motor to the frame, and added a protective cage all around to prevent anything from flying off. It even has a seat for me to ride.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready?
Here we go.
We fire it up, and it's very shaky.
Oh, wow. Wow. That was really uncomfortable. It was like very bangy, even with the seat.
Yeah?
I'm gonna try standing on it.
All right.
When I try standing on it, the Vibrobot lives up to its name. It vibrates all around the lab.
Oh, wow. My legs are numb to the knee.
I'm not surprised.
Vibrobot!
All right.
Yeah, that worked really well.
That was awesome.
I really can't feel my feet right now. And it held together, which is impressive.
That's right. The more power and the stronger structure paid off.
Yeah, the only thing I regret is not getting a chance to, wait a minute, come with me. Okay, so I achieved my dream of riding the Vibrobot.
You did.
But we never got a chance to make art, so we've dipped a whole bunch of nuts and bolts and heavy things in paint.
Yep.
And now we're gonna turn on the Vibrobot and see if we can make some art. Let's see how it looks.
Oh, wow.
Ta-da! Vibrobot art. Vibrobot has been a huge success, and we got some art to keep. High fives. Well done. Science Max, experiments at large. Who gets to keep the art?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, tie. 1, 2, 3. Tie. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow. 1, 2, 3. Ah, tie. 1, 2, 3. Man. And there's gonna be a red balloon, but those red balloons are gonna be pushing this way. And then this afternoon, we're gonna have this blue balloon, which is quite nice. Over to you, Kathy. Thanks, Kathy. Science! I figured we would have maybe a bigger motor.
Yes.
Or a bigger, no. I'm gonna try that again. All thrusters ahead. Whoa! Balloons. Science.
Today on Animal Science. We've all heard of the African elephant, but have you ever seen its cousin, the Asian elephant? One way to tell them apart is by their ears. And one of the world's most ancient dogs comes from China. And it was bred to look like a lion. Plus, the pot-bellied pig is just like a regular pig, except it's about 3 times smaller. Ever wonder why? Today, we'll take a look at some of the coolest creatures from the continent of Asia. Welcome to the fascinating world of animal science. Asia is the largest continent in the world. Its wildlife roams free over a wide variety of terrain. From low-lying wetlands to the highest mountains on Earth. High up in the Himalayas lives a secretive and solitary cat, the snow leopard. It's related to the African leopard, but has unique adaptations for the harsh mountain life. Its extra-large nasal cavity warms the air before it enters the lungs. And its extra-small ears allow less heat to escape its body. The snow leopard's eyesight is 6 times better than a human. It can spot its prey from great distances. Snow leopards are rarely seen in the wild. They are truly one of the world's most mysterious creatures. The largest animal in the Himalayas is the yak. It's known for its ability to carry heavy loads at high elevations.
Yaks have a lot of adaptations to help them in higher altitudes. They actually have larger lungs, which is going to increase their ability to obtain oxygen from the thin air.
Like most animals, male yaks can sometimes get a little angry.
When you see 2 male yaks butting heads with one another, it's usually over competition for mating rights with females.
In more peaceful times, though, yaks live quietly in the mountains, earning the reputation as one of the highest dwelling animals in the world. Along the foothills of the Himalayas lurks the innocent-looking fishing cat. The fishing cat is about twice the size of your average house cat. And it doesn't mind getting wet. That's because the fishing cat feeds on fish.
When a fishing cat is hunting, they've got a few different techniques that they will use to catch their prey. One of them is they will stand on a higher point of view to be able to look down onto the water. When they spot a fish, they'll actually jump from that high point down into the water to catch the fish.
And once this cat reels in its meal, it takes great pride in showing it off. With a continent as large as Asia, you can bet that there's some pretty big animals roaming around. Some of them have relatives in Africa, but others are completely unique. The country of Indonesia is made up of thousands of islands. On a few of these islands lurks the largest lizard in the world, the Komodo dragon. The Komodo dragon is a supersized monitor lizard. It measures up to 10 feet long and weighs as much as 300 pounds. This is because it has no predators.
When there are no mammalian carnivores, the Komodo dragon fills in the top predator slot. Because it lives on an island and because it's ectothermic, it doesn't require a lot of food. So the lizard gets larger in size.
Scientists call this freakish type growth island gigantism. And frankly, the Komodo dragon looks like something that belongs in a horror movie. In the early morning, you're apt to see these large animals grazing the grasslands of northern India. The Indian rhino is similar to the African white rhino, but there are a couple of clear distinctions. While the white rhino has 2 horns, the Indian rhino only has 1. The white rhino also has a broad, straight mouth for grass grazing, while the Indian rhino has a large prehensile upper lip. When it's not eating, the Indian rhino can often be found cooling off in the water.
Indian rhinos are actually the most aquatic of all the rhino species, so you are going to see them mostly during the day, probably sitting in mud wallows or sitting in water and resting, or very easily probably sleeping too.
The Indian rhino is the 2nd largest animal in Asia. But it is dwarfed by this creature, the Asian elephant. This massive mammal has a massive appendage hanging from its head. We call it a trunk, but scientists call it a proboscis. The trunk has many functions. The small lip protruding from its tip helps grab branches. The trunk is also used for drinking water.
The Asian elephant's trunk is full of muscles, and so they can use that trunk like a straw, but it's not exactly the same process. They don't slurp water up their nose and straight into their mouth. They have to slurp it up part way, and then they can put that into their mouths and then swallow it.
To the untrained eye, Asian elephants look similar to African elephants. But there's one pretty cool way to tell them apart.
African elephants have much larger ears, and their ears are actually shaped like the continent of Africa. Asian elephants have smaller ears, and they're actually shaped like India.
That's good to know. Just make sure you bring some maps with you next time you want to see the difference. When we return, you'll find out how the sun bear got its name and why these long-tailed macaques have so much energy. Right here on Animal Science. Southeast Asia is home to the world's oldest tropical rainforests. Hidden inside these vast expanses of vegetation are some of the most unusual animals on Earth. In the jungles of Borneo resides a small primate with a mellow disposition. It's called the silvered leaf monkey. The silvered leaf monkey lives in trees and quietly goes about its business. This is in stark contrast to another primate with whom it shares the same habitat. The long-tailed macaque. Long-tailed macaques are like Energizer bunnies on steroids. They keep jumping and diving and running and jumping, which begs the question, Why are these guys so different than the peaceful silverleaf monkeys?
It's really about their diet. Silver leaf-eating monkeys, as you can guess, eat leaves. Leaves are plentiful, they're everywhere, but they're not a really great food source. They're not particularly high energy, whereas long-tailed macaques are fruit eaters. And so they're eating this really high energy food that's full of sugar. If you eat a lot of sugar, you've got lots of energy.
These macaques really need to settle down. Maybe they should try eating some vegetables. There's a bear in Southeast Asia that some say resembles the rising sun. Its name, you guessed it, the sun bear. The sun bear has a striking golden patch on its chest, for which it gets its name. It's the smallest species of bear on Earth, only half the size of a black bear. And get this, the sun bear never hibernates.
Bears in colder climates will go into a hibernation or a torpor because they want to conserve their energy through the winter time where food isn't as available. The sun bear doesn't have to worry about that because their food is available all year round.
The sun bear's favorite food is honey, so it's often referred to as the honey bear. But this bear doesn't care what you call it, as long as you don't call it late for dinner. The pot-bellied pig might not seem so exotic, but at one time, it could only be found in Vietnam. It's just like your standard pig, except it's a lot smaller. And it has this, pot belly. Pot-bellied pigs were first bred for food by the Vietnamese. The question is, why were they bred to be so small?
If you're raising an animal for food, sometimes you would think that bigger would be better, but not necessarily when you have to think about the affordability of what it costs to feed the animal that you're raising.
Because of their small size, pot-bellied pigs have become popular pets. But you have to manage their weight, because a pet like this could eat you out of house and home if you're not careful. There are over 400 breeds of domestic dog, all of which evolved from their great ancestor, the gray wolf. It is believed that most of these breeds originated in ancient Asia. This caramel-colored canine is called a Chow Chow. Its origin traces back to China, and its name means puffy lion dog. When you look at it, it does sort of resemble the king of the jungle. In ancient China, the Chow Chow was used as a guard dog. So it was bred to be extra furry, which can be an intimidating look. While the Chow Chow was bred for protection, the Pug was bred to be a lazy lapdog for rich Chinese royalty. And they wanted its face to be dark and fierce-looking.
The way that the Pug got its very unique look is through selective breeding. So it's taking one animal that has a little bit more of a squished-in dragon-like face and breed it with another one that has the same characteristics, and hoping that the future offspring will eventually look exactly how you want that dog breed to look.
Asia was also the birthplace of some of the world's most ancient hunting dog breeds. Take the cuddly Shar-Pei, for example. Ever wonder why its skin is so wrinkly?
They were bred to help hunt down wild boar. And having a lot of loose skin did serve a purpose for them. So if they ever did get bit by a boar during a hunt, there's so much extra skin that they can actually turn around and bite back.
In Japan, one of the most revered hunting dogs is the Akita Inu. Because of its great size and strength, the Akita was once used to hunt big game animals, like deer. And with its superior sense of smell, it could track down black bears and even hold them at bay until its master arrived to make the kill. Similar in appearance to the Akita Inu is the Shiba Inu. Alert, agile, and compact, the Shiba Inu was also used for hunting.
They were bred really with helping on the hunt for smaller animals like birds and small mammals. They're a lot smaller than the Akita Inu, and that's because the Shiba Inu is from mountainous regions, and having kind of a smaller body altogether is helpful if you're going through a lot of rocky terrain and high altitudes.
Now here's an interesting little pooch. It's called a Tibetan Spaniel. The Spaniel has especially keen eyesight and once served as a guard dog for Tibetan monks. As a result, it's quick to react when a stranger approaches. Today, you're not likely to see any of these dogs performing the tasks they were originally bred for. Instead, most of the Asian breeds now simply serve as lovable family pets. Coming up, this endangered wild mountain goat has some of the longest horns in the world. And you'll find out why, right here on Animal Science. The Nubian ibex is a type of wild goat native to the Middle East. And it has some of the most impressive horns you'll ever see.
The Nubian ibex horns are enormous. That's because these horns were meant as a way of fighting and showing dominance between one animal and another.
DNA analysis shows that ibex males with greater genetic diversity tend to have larger horns. And typically, the male with the largest horns wins breeding rights. This ensures that good genes are preserved for future generations. From Animal Science, see you next time. Today on Animal Science. Did you know that an elephant seal's nose inflates to amplify its roar? The sound can be heard up to a mile away. Plus, the African wild dog has one of the most powerful bite forces on Earth. And the giant anteater doesn't have teeth, but with a 2-foot-long tongue, it can eat 30,000 insects a day. From treetops to coral reefs, these animals have some incredible survival skills. Welcome to the fascinating world of animal science. In the animal world, a nose has more important functions than just holding up your glasses. It's a powerful tool for survival, with more uses than a Swiss Army knife. The elephant seal is the largest of all seals, so it makes sense that it has the biggest nose. It gets its name from that huge honker, which resembles an elephant's trunk. Elephant seals spend about 80% of their lives at sea. They hit the beach for mating season, and that's where their noses come in handy. Only adult males sport the giant schnozzle. It inflates and helps amplify the seal's roar. That deafening sound intimidates other male rivals. But that's not all the nose can do.
There are a lot of cavities inside of that nose, and it can hold moisture. And if they're going to be on the beach for days on end, they're going to have to hold in as much water as possible, even water vapor that's coming from in and out of their nose.
It's a good thing it holds moisture in. You'd probably need a whole roll of paper towels to blow a nose that big. The giant anteater doesn't have any teeth. So why does it need such a long snout? To hold its giant tongue, of course. The anteater's tongue measures up to 2 feet long and is used to burrow inside anthills.
Its taste buds are actually facing backwards or towards their mouth, so that way as they're feeding, it kind of helps keep the insects inside of their mouth. They also have a really sticky saliva in their mouth and all over their tongue, too.
To scoop up those tasty insects, the giant anteater flicks its tongue up to 150 times a minute. In fact, it can eat 30,000 insects a day. Good thing those ants are so small. The white-nosed coati has the excellent sense of smell you'd expect from an animal with such a big snout. It lives in trees, but when it's time to chow down, the coati keeps its nose to the ground.
They do have a slightly moist nose, and that helps them to pick up scent better. But mostly that nose is about rooting around in leaf litter and finding the things underground that they want to eat. They sort of use it like a hand.
Now that's what you might call a nosy fellow. The warthog is not exactly the prettiest animal in the world. From its sharp tusks to its bristly tail, this relative of the pig is built for business, not beauty. And the reason is as plain as the you-know-what on its face.
If you're finding your food source by rooting for food, you're going to evolve what you need most. which would be the snout.
The warthog uses its excellent sense of smell to sniff out roots and bulbs underground. Because its legs are long and its neck is short, the warthog kneels on thickly padded knees to reach the ground. Then it uses its tusks and snout to dig. Now that's what you call using your head. Or at least your snout. Africa is home to some of the most awe-inspiring animals in the world. And many of them have amazing talents. From aerial acrobatics to super speed. The black and white colobus monkey is one of the most distinctive looking primates on Earth. It has a white circle around its face and a long white fringe around its back. Babies are even easier to spot. They're pure white. Scientists believe that standing out makes the newbies fit in.
It helps them to become social members of the group. The other primates want to touch them, hold them, groom them because they appear so unusual. The other theory is that it's a form of protection. If a predator should approach, the baby is easy to spot, so you can scoop it up and take it someplace safe.
The colobus spends most of its time leaping in trees. Its hands are specially suited to this high-flying lifestyle.
They're actually missing their thumb so that their hand instead is just a hook. So it's really quick and easy for them to grab on to branches without the thumb being in the way.
No thumb, no problem. The whole jungle's a playground for these high-flying acrobats. Africa is famous for its mighty hunters. The powerful lion, the speedy cheetah, and the stealthy leopard, to name a few. Which is the toughest of them all? Animal science gives the nod to the African wild dog. African wild dogs have some of the most muscular jaws on the planet. In relation to their size, their bite force is more powerful than any other carnivore on the continent. Wild dogs are also one of Africa's most successful predators. This is because they work together when they hunt, then share the spoils. What else are friends for? There are more than 70 antelope species living in Africa today. Some large, like the kudu, and some small, like the royal antelope.
There's some strategies, both good and bad, in having that different size. So if you're really large, you're more capable of defending yourself against a large predator. If you're small, it's easier for you to hide and be less visible to a predator, but you're also not as capable of defending yourself.
The Thompson's gazelle is a small antelope that looks like it has racing stripes. And no wonder. With a compact body and slim but powerful legs, it can hit speeds close to 60 miles per hour. The Thompson's gazelle needs this speed because it's often being chased by the world's fastest land animal, the cheetah.
cheetahs are incredibly fast, but cheetahs are only able to maintain that speed in very short bursts, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, whereas a Thompson's gazelle can maintain that speed for a pretty long period of time. And they also run in this really wonderful zigzag pattern, which is also confusing for the cheetahs that are trying to chase them.
The longer the Thompson's gazelle runs, the more likely the cheetah is to give up and wait for something slower to come along. When we come back, you'll find out why stress keeps animals alive in the wild and how dogs help veterans overcome battle scars. Right here on Animal Science. In the wild, animals face daily danger. Fear and anxiety are an aid to survival, sharpening the senses and signaling the nervous system to go on high alert. Faced with a threat, the heart beats faster and blood pressure skyrockets as the animal prepares for action. All animals, including us humans, are hardwired for these responses. Most people don't face life or death situations every day. But in wartime, soldiers have to fight for survival on a daily basis. Many of them return home suffering long-term effects called post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD.
Repetitive exposure to threat tends to tone up this emergency system to make it more intense. It's almost as if the soldier is in a state of pre-emergency all the time. When it reaches its sort of maximum effect, the person can't function.
Alan Beaulieu served 4 tours of duty in Iraq. Once home, he experienced severe nightmares and flashbacks.
It's basically crippled with anxiety. Anytime I go to a store and have a panic or anxiety attack, and it would very quickly, my world would shrink and shrink and shrink, to where I don't want to leave the house.
Believe it or not, dogs have now become a weapon in the battle against PTSD. For a veteran who gets anxious in public places, a dog is a comforting buffer. A companion who can literally watch his back and provide a physical barrier against an overwhelming world.
Heel.
These service dogs receive extensive training.
Fetch sit.
But they also have an incredible inborn ability that makes them uniquely qualified to help. A dog's sense of smell can be thousands of times more powerful than a human's. This is because dogs have up to 30 times as many olfactory receptors as we do. Their noses are so sensitive, they can actually detect an impending panic attack in time to intervene.
They sense changes in a person's body and different hormone levels changing as somebody gets more anxious or more stressed, and they help calm the person down a little bit. Scientists think that dogs are able to sense these slight changes is with their sense of smell.
Fetch.
Just being around a dog can head off a panic attack. Scientists say that friendly interactions between animals and humans raises levels of oxytocin, a hormone that lowers blood pressure and reduces stress. Sometimes the best medicine comes on 4 legs.
Thanks, buddy.
Imagine living in an underwater world where you could move in any direction, From scales to tails, fish are incredible creatures with an amazing ability to get around. Big or small, thick or thin. You can usually tell how speedy a fish is by the shape of its tail. Take the shark. A high-speed swimming machine in constant motion.
A lot of the power from the shark actually comes from their tail. The top part is actually a lot longer and extends outward, and that's what gives them the thrust to move forward. And then the dorsal fin that's located on top, that acts like a vertical stabilizer to help keep them on the right track. Even their scales, everything faces backwards, so their bodies are really smooth and streamlined in the water.
The manta ray is a relative of the shark, but it looks like a whole different animal. This is because, compared to the size of its body, the manta ray has enormous pectoral fins. They extend outward in a triangle-like shape, allowing the manta ray to fly through the water with the greatest of ease. The seahorse is a fish that looks like a pony but swims like an underwater hummingbird. Seahorses are powered by dorsal fins. These fins beat so rapidly, they're almost invisible to the naked eye. These shy stallions of the sea rely on camouflage for protection. So the last thing they want is to give themselves away by the flutter of their fins. The moray eel keeps it simple. It undulates through the water with liquid grace.
Their dorsal fin is fused with their tail fin. So when you first look at them, it looks like they're just one long body, but they do have fins. They've just kind of all through evolution fused together into one big ribbon.
The way eels wind through the water is similar to how snakes slither through the sand. But unlike most snakes and fish, eels can also move backwards. Pretty cool, huh? When we return, take the Animal Science Pop Quiz and find out how much you really know about animals. Right here on Animal Science. Once again, it's time for the Animal Science Pop Quiz. You know the deal. All 3 correct gets an Animal Science Award. Ready, get set, go! Question 1. What is the world's largest land carnivore? The anaconda, the tiger, or the polar bear? It's C, the polar bear. Polar bears weigh up to 1,500 pounds, and they like to eat seals. Question 2. How many arms does an octopus have? 8, 18, or 28? The answer is A, 8 arms. They're called tentacles, and they're lined with sticky suction cups. Final question, what is the slowest mammal on Earth? The 3-toed sloth, the giant tortoise, or the elephant? The answer is A, the 3-toed sloth. this South American mammal reaches a top speed of 0.15 miles per hour. That's all for today, folks. We hope you had fun. From Animal Science, see you next time.
Food. It's one of the few things human beings can't live without. And in order to feed our growing global population, we're going to need to find new and innovative solutions that challenge traditional approaches to food production. There's a new method where everyone can grow their own nutritious food.
This is called a vertex living wall, and once these plants completely grow out, it's going to be just a wall of food.
Do you know how to tell the difference between a fruit and a vegetable?
People usually think of fruits as things that are sweet, but in fact there are lots of fruits that are green and not sweet.
It's amazing how great food can taste when it's grown organically. Oh my goodness. That's an explosion. Join me, Philippe Cousteau, as we discover groundbreaking ways of producing wonderful, fresh food on Exploration Awesome Planet. One of the greatest advancements for the human race has been the development of agriculture. By learning how to cultivate important grains like rice, wheat, and corn, communities were able to control their food supply and live in one place. Today, our planet supports over 7 billion people, and in many areas, the fertile soil counted on for farming is decreasing. Welcome back to Awesome Planet. I'm Philippe Cousteau. The agricultural industry faces tremendous challenges as it works to feed a growing global population. Fortunately, the urban farming movement is providing innovative solutions that can help and meet that demand. Alegria Farms, located in Irvine, California, covers only 1 acre, but they grow over 100,000 plants. And get this, all these plants are grown above ground on a parking lot. A farm like this could exist on any open space in a city. A key aspect of this farm is the soil they use. It's much more organic than most other farms. That's why these vegetables are so full of nutrients.
Eric, I've been looking forward to this. What you're doing here is really amazing. I'm a foodie. I love to cook, so this is like just coming home.
That's awesome.
But let's start with this soil right in front of you. What is so special about this?
Well, as plankton is to the ocean, soil is to the earth. I mean, if you treat soil like your own blood and understand that everything that we eat that comes out of soil gets into our bloodstream. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem that's been occurring on this planet is we've been destroying or disrespecting soil.
Yes, we have.
And if you disrespect soil, you end up eventually killing most of the biology in it. And so that turns into this new cycle where we're going to have to throw fertilizers back in, synthetic fertilizers, to make up for the lack of organic matter or humus in the soil.
Now, big farms concentrate on producing high yields of food. But how nutritious is it? The saying, "You are what you eat," is essentially true. Many cases of autoimmune diseases that people experience are linked to a poor diet or nutritional deficiencies in their food. So eating nutrient-rich food is important, and the quality of food is partly determined by the soil from which it comes.
So if you look at this here, this is cocoa fiber. You see these root balls? This is coming off.
The soil Eric shows me consists entirely of decomposed organic matter, and the deeper he digs, the richer the soil.
If I go down below, you're going to see that as we get down below, we're getting a lot more what we call worm castings. But that's a ball of humus. Okay, that's 100% organic matter.
Organic matter.
And so humus is also known as soil glue. That's what's holding the soil together. Now this will grow anything.
In one section of this farm, they grow plants in these giant socks filled with soil. This system uses less water and less fertilizer than a conventional farm, and yet these plants grow twice as fast.
So welcome to our socks farm. This is a new container system that I'm
kind of now enamored with. At first we were struggling with it because we didn't have the right soils in there, but once we started blending our own soils and putting it in these polypropylene socks, you can see that it's kind of a loose mesh and they breathe.
Looks like they're all doing pretty well.
Eric has 9 rows of these socks just bursting with kale.
Take a bite of that and see what you think. I mean, look at that. See the leaf? How heavy the leaf structure is? A lot of flavor, though, right?
Taste the flavor. The green is coming through. It's very rare that you can just say, you know what? I'm gonna eat raw kale because it tastes so bloody good without anything on it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times.
Yeah. You can prop up plants any way you want with synthetic fertilizers, but and they look good. But the problem is a lot of times you're sacrificing the nutrient density. I mean, nature does it best. And that's really the bottom line.
Absolutely. When we come back, Eric will show us even more ways to grow food in the city.
So this is our vertical hydroponic gardens. Now, we're not 100% hydro in here. We're actually kind of hydro-organic.
And later, we'll test your knowledge about fruits and vegetables. For instance, do you know which one a tomato is? Welcome back to Awesome Planet. Now, so far, we've seen what Eric Cutter has created on just 1 acre of land, a farm that could just as easily be located on an empty city lot.
I did a little quick Google search. There's almost 40 miles of this type of property between Los Angeles and Orange County that can be repurposed and turned into farms. 40 square miles.
It's Eric's vision to see hundreds of these farms throughout Los Angeles. And even if there isn't space available, Eric is helping to pioneer another type of urban farm.
Here's a brand new system. This is called a Vertex Living Wall. And what this allows us to do is to actually go vertical instead of horizontal, but grow in soil. This isn't irrigated yet, but we irrigate up the side and run drip tape over the tops.
Okay.
But you can see how simple this is, and once these plants completely grow out, it's going to be just a wall of food.
In the past couple of decades, scientists have developed another way of growing food using a system called hydroponics, which is farming without soil. Water is mixed with nutrients through a series of pipes and delivered to these plants. The roots of the plants are surrounded by a coconut fiber, which absorbs the water.
Now, we're not 100% hydro in here. We're actually kind of hydro-organic.
And this is arugula.
This is arugula. So just go ahead and taste
When was the last time that you actually got to pull vegetables off a stem and eat them without having to wash them?
Right. No, these are...
Without having to worry about any
no
contaminants or pesticides or anything. Unfortunately, it's all too rare occasion.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sweet.
Yeah.
And peppery.
Wait until the pepper shows up.
Oh, my goodness. That's an explosion.
Yeah.
This is the best arugula I've ever had, and I'm not just saying that, Eric. This is out of this world.
This farm focuses on 2 main things: growing food efficiently and making sure it's full of nutrients.
And basil works.
Eric then takes me to one of my favorite herbs, the basil plant.
Here's the stacking planter system and some of the Genovese basil we use. Take a leaf off of there and tell me what you think.
Just the smell is spectacular.
Yeah, it's really aromatic.
Oh, my goodness.
Isn't that beautiful? So you can...
You know, and this is the thing, Eric, that when I go to supermarkets, I'm not surprised that people would rather eat junk food and things like that because they have flavor. But if they could taste something the way it's supposed to taste, it's better than any candy or junk food out there.
Ideally, the food we buy in a supermarket would be super fresh, but that's not always the case.
If somebody asked me what food would I eat, would it be organic, conventional, hydroponic, you know, aquaponic, I would say give me fresh. For example, lettuce loses 50% of its vitamin C in 3 days. Most of the lettuce you see in supermarkets is 5 days old.
Now, in case you're wondering what happens to all this food at Alegria Farms, there is an outlet. Nearby, there's a restaurant that uses the vegetables Eric grows. The food is often picked that same morning.
God, that milk is just pouring.
One of the more nutritious of all the vegetables here is romaine lettuce. And when Eric breaks it apart, white milk oozes out. This liquid has antioxidants, which are good for both the body and the brain. But the key, of course, is eating it while it's fresh.
But you can taste the flavors, yeah.
Eric, thank you. This is just
Rabbit
a
food.
revelation. And the best rabbit food I've ever had.
During the hustle and bustle of modern society, it seems we've gotten away from the important basics of having fresh food in our diet. And now, through technology, we can restore a much healthier way of eating. Coming up, what is a tomato? Is it a vegetable or a fruit?
Here's a tomato. You cut it open, and you can see that we have seeds inside it.
And later, we'll look at food waste and why so many people are unable to get enough food to eat.
Welcome back to Awesome Planet. I'm Philippe Cousteau. Many people may think that the difference between fruits and vegetables is pretty straightforward. But as we'll learn at the University of Pennsylvania, that's not always the case.
Fruits and vegetables grow in all types of climates. They can be found above the earth, on the earth, and in the earth. They also come in a variety of sizes, shapes, and flavors. To help us distinguish vegetables from fruits, we visited biologist Scott Pothig.
Usually we think of vegetables as green things like leaves or stems, or even non-green things like things that are in the ground, roots, potatoes, that sort of thing. But essentially anything that is not a flower or a product of a flower is a vegetable.
Rule of thumb, if you see seeds, it's a fruit and not a vegetable.
Something we all recognize as a vegetable, a head of lettuce, and we recognize it as a vegetable because it's got leaves. It's green, leafy, and of course there are no seeds in lettuce. I don't think you've ever seen seeds in a head of lettuce.
Since lettuce and these other plants have no seeds, they're vegetables. Seeds are one of the defining characteristics of fruits, and seeds come from flowers.
So a fruit is what a flower becomes after it's been fertilized. For example, you'll see an apple tree, and in the springtime, you'll see it covered with flowers. And then sometime later, you'll see that the tree is now covered with apples. And those fruits, they're what the flower was transformed into after it was pollinated, after it was fertilized.
So if fruits come from flowers and contain seeds, you may have to rethink what you consider a vegetable and what you consider a fruit.
Moving over here, we can see things that we recognize as fruits. All of these originally came from flowers. There's just a little example of that. We have the little peppers here. You can see flowers, and in fact, they become transformed into fruits here. People usually think of fruits as things that are sweet and colorful, and they think of vegetables as things that are not sweet and green. But in fact, there are lots of fruits that are green and not sweet. For example, a cucumber is a fruit. So here's a tomato. You cut that open, and you can see that we have seeds inside it. A classic example of a big confusion, of course, is the tomato. Because a tomato, people think of it as a vegetable because it's not sweet. You eat it as part of your dinner, for example, and it has seeds in it. It's produced by a flower, so we consider tomatoes fruits, not vegetables.
Of course, fruits are delicious, and we love to eat them. But more importantly, so do other creatures in the wild. For example, when a monkey comes across a piece of fruit in a tree, it will gladly eat it, seeds and all. But here's the catch. The monkey's digestive system isn't able to break down the seeds, so the seeds get left behind on the ground. Then they'll have a chance to grow into new trees. It's a brilliant system, really. By producing sweet fruit, many of these trees have figured out a way to ensure their survival.
What makes the world interesting is knowing what exists and having some knowledge about it. And of course, it's a lot of fun actually to know stuff so that you can tell your friends, oh, you may think that a tomato is a fruit, a vegetable, but it really is a fruit. And all of a sudden, you know, your friends, ah, no, you're kidding me. But you say, but it's true. I heard it on television.
Welcome back to Awesome Planet. Now, unfortunately, the amount of food that we throw out each year is staggering. Around 40% of the world's annual food production is wasted.
Farmers are tireless workers. They endlessly till the land, and with careful planning, they raise crops that feed the world. Scientists have calculated that farmers produce enough food to feed 10 billion people. Unfortunately, much of this food is wasted, and millions of people are left starving. John Mandyke has studied the effects of this wastefulness. He's even co-written a book on it called Food Foolish. He's figured out just how much food is being wasted on an annual basis.
We create a mountain of food waste each and every year around the world. It's 1.3 billion metric tons of food waste. If you think that an elephant weighs 1 metric ton, think about 1.3 billion happy, healthy elephants standing in one pile. It's hard to imagine, but that's the amount of food waste we create each and every year around the world.
To grow food, it takes fertile soil, seed, fertilizer, and lots of water. For instance, about 5.4 gallons of water are needed just to grow a single head of broccoli. So even when food appears to be abundant, it still takes a lot of resources to produce.
All of that food got there in a way that had an impact on the environment. So when we throw it away, we are exacerbating the problems that we are creating with the environment because we're going to have to overproduce to compensate for the fact that we're throwing so much food away. If we waste less of it, we're doing a big favor for the environment and how we can save the resources in the first place that it took to grow that food. You at home can do a lot to reduce food waste. You can start by just buying enough food that you know you're going to use instead of buying all the food that you think you might need and then throwing 40% of it away, which is what happens on an average basis. But you also can think about ways that you interact with food in restaurants. There's no shame in bringing home the doggy bag and enjoying food the next day because otherwise it's going to get thrown away too, and that has a consequence for the environment as well.
In many parts of the world, crops like rice, corn, and wheat are relied upon to feed the masses. Despite this demand, there's still great waste.
On the other side of the world, 2/3 of all food that is wasted happens at the production and distribution level. That's in places like Asia, where food rots in fields before harvest, or it rots in poor transportation networks, or it rots in open-air markets before people can buy the food.
Many developing countries simply don't have adequate transport systems to move these goods. And even if the food is transported, quality storage containers are needed to keep it fresh. And quite often, the storage is insufficient.
We live on a planet of 7 billion people, and only about 6 are getting enough food. So that right there tells you the inefficiency in our food system and the penalty we're paying with food waste. It's literally taking food off the table for the people that are hungry.
In his book, John notes that one of the most important crops in the world is the banana. They contain vitamins and minerals essential to human health. But unfortunately, bananas are highly perishable. If they get too hot, they spoil. To transport bananas, constant climate control is needed. Without it, the food is wasted.
India is a great example. India grows 28% of the world's bananas, yet it exports just 0.3%. And that's because in India in particular, greater than 50% of all the fruits and vegetables are lost. Many times they're lost because it's very, very hot and they over-ripen and the refrigeration technologies aren't there to save the food.
World hunger is a tragedy that is so frustrating because of all the food that's being wasted.
Tonight alone, 1 in 9 people will go to bed hungry around the world. That's the equivalent population of the entire United States of America and the entire European Union that doesn't get enough food. Yet we create and we grow and we produce enough food to feed everybody. We need better technologies. We need better storage capabilities. We need better distribution methods. But no matter where the issue of food waste occurs, we know how to solve it. It's a matter of will.
people need to become aware of the scale and consequences of food waste. It negatively impacts both the human race and our environment. It's been predicted that there will be 9 billion people on our planet by the year 2050. Feeding all those people will certainly be a challenge. And as is most often the case, science and technology will provide some of our best solutions.
Food. It's one of my favorite things, and I think I can speak for most of us when I say that, though oftentimes in this day and age, many of us take food for granted. It was incredible to visit Alegria Farms. It was one of my favorite adventures so far. I never really appreciated how important soil nutrients were, that when we take care of the soil, the difference in the quality of our food is incredible. And then to imagine that that farm was basically built on a parking lot, and that we can grow food where we live, in our very backyards, bringing healthy nutrition into the middle of urban landscapes. And then, on a somewhat shocking note, the idea of just how much food is wasted in the world today, leaving people more impoverished and all sorts of other problems that maybe we'll just take a moment to think about what we can do to make a better, healthier planet for everyone. I'm Philippe Cousteau, and that's it for this week on Awesome Planet. We'll see you next time.
On this episode, what to do when a winter wonderland
can be pretty loud.
Turns into a frozen darkness. Join us on the sheets of ice and the harsh wilderness of the Rocky Mountains on Exploration Awesome Planet.
Welcome to Awesome Planet. I'm Philippe Cousteau. A few places show off the beauty of winter, like Banff National Park. Close to 1 million people travel here each winter to enjoy this stunning landscape, immersing themselves in a world of snow and ice.
Located about 2 hours north of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, you'll find a wilderness lover's dream in Banff National Park. For our winter adventure here, we've made the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise our home base. The cold weather months turn Banff National Park into a winter wonderland. But while this time of year creates a beautiful white blanket over a pristine landscape, accumulating snow can present hazards. Each morning at Ski Lake Louise, Dave Petch and his co-workers gather before sunrise and create a daily plan to help avert one of the most dangerous aspects of the winter season: avalanches. Snowpacks have layers. Avalanches occur when a weak layer fragments and slides downward, taking massive amounts of snow and often trees, rocks, and whatever else may be in its path at increased speeds. They're incredibly dangerous and can happen when you least expect it.
Every day we come in and the first information that we're most into is the weather that's happened in the past 24 hours. The most important things for me is wind. I look to the terrain, knowing which way it faces to the wind, and I know where we're likely to find the deposited snow. Where the deposited snow winds up is where we have an avalanche problem.
You're doing some forecasting, you're really using science, and you're using geology and geography and like all these different things to understand this space and how the mountain works.
And it's constantly changing.
Once the team determines safety threats, avalanche control comes next. These explosives will loosen hazardous snowpacks, helping to mitigate greater threats.
I don't think you could be better conditions today. It's beautiful blue sky. They had snow last night, so they definitely have some hazards. And they've got about 20 pounds of plastic explosives. Hey, a snowboard, plastic explosives, what could go wrong?
The top of the ledge is about as far as I can go. From here, Dave and Kat make the dangerous walk out to prep the explosives.
Sometimes getting into the train is the hardest part.
Now, to ensure the explosives don't roll down the hill, Dave ties them to a safety line.
There we go.
Each igniter is identical. So Dave and Kat know that once they start the fuse, they'll have 2.5 minutes before the blast.
Hey, we're 30 seconds in flight 6, 30 seconds.
And you can see how quickly that snow layer collapses down the hill. And once clear, Dave and Kat will ski over to inspect the area and ensure they don't need to blast that spot again. As the skis cross the bomb site, they can tell that the new snow layer is much more stable. This blast has been a success.
31233.
About 100 yards away, another target is set.
So that's a 30-second warning. It's gonna be pretty loud. That shakes you to the core. Your entire body just goes boom with the shockwave. Looks like a good result.
And while these bombs were incredibly impressive, coming up next, I'll make my way down the mountain to look at another method of avalanche control and then how science and safety go hand in hand. Welcome back to Awesome Planet as we examine avalanche safety at Ski Lake Louise. Right now, the safety team is ski cutting, basically zigzagging down a steep slope to loosen the snow. You can see how easily the snow releases from the pressure of the skis. Avalanche safety team member Kat Reed explains those dynamics.
Not all snow is created equal.
Not all snow is created equal.
So this is not all the same.
When it's actually on the ground, it's always changing. It never stays the same. A big factor that changes it is temperature.
So is it melting and then refreezing, or
it's changing shape?
Really?
So the main things that it wants to do is turn into a nice friendly circle or a big evil square. So if you think about a glass full of ice cubes and you're rattling it all around, the ice cubes don't want to stick to each other. They're just loose ice cubes in the glass. But if you think of nice tight circles like sand in a glass, there's less air spaces between them and they're closer to each other. So over here we can see where the snowmobile's been. So it's been compacted and we've got some nice round shapes here. And
so
you
this
can
is
see
the stuff we like to make snowballs out of.
Yeah, and it sticks together really nicely. And underneath this is the sugary crystals here.
Good heavens, it really is like sugar.
And then if you look really closely on my glove, you can actually see the square sides of the crystals.
It's kind of big, chunky, gritty bits.
Yeah, and that's the reason why it's not sticking together.
So with the evil squares, it's more likely
Like sugar.
to slide.
Yeah.
So when it warms up, this will soften and become friendly circles.
Eventually. Yeah, it's a bit of a process.
The force and pressure of avalanche snow can be deadly. In the backcountry, it can end up sending down just a few pounds of snow, or in more serious situations, a few thousand tons of snow and debris. I made my way to nearby Yoho National Park to meet with avalanche safety member Brian Webster from Parks Canada to see a few ways to prepare for the worst case scenario.
The three key tools that we talk about, I like to refer to them as just one tool with three components. So you've got the transceiver, you've got the shovel, and you've got the probe, And the idea is with the transceiver is that I'll get very close to you very quickly.
But it may look like this.
It may look like this, and it's like, well, should I start digging here or should I start digging here? So that's where the probe comes into play. And I very systematically start probing in that area. I'm waiting until I feel something that feels like this.
Gives a little
got
bit,
a little bit
soft.
of give.
Okay.
Exactly. So once I've located that, I'll leave the probe in. And if I don't have a shovel, I'm useless. I can't do anything. I can only do a limited amount of stuff with my hands.
Because I want to test this theory, because I can dig pretty quickly with my hands. So why don't we see how fast, in 10 seconds, you can dig with that shovel versus me with my hands.
Okay.
Although this snow is much softer and lighter than an avalanche pack would be, I thought I could give Brian a challenge.
Dun, dun. Say when.
First person to ground.
After 10 seconds, though,
Stop.
All right.
not so much.
How'd you do?
I think I lost. You cleared out a huge area, and I just basically barely got to my feet.
Brian mentioned the transceiver that everyone in the backcountry should have. I wanted to put this system to the test for a backcountry novice like myself, so I let Brian go off and hide the transmitter as if he was a member of our group who'd gotten caught in an avalanche.
So we want to turn our transmitter into a receiver. We want to go from send mode to search mode.
Okay.
So to do that, you just slide that red button, depress it, and slide it to the right. Excellent. Okay. And it's telling me that we have one buried signal that it's picking up, and it's roughly 26 meters away. And there's also an arrow, a directional arrow. So what your job is, Philippe, is you've got to go and find your friend.
Okay.
All right.
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on here.
Okay. This might be harder than I thought.
Are your numbers getting smaller?
My numbers are getting smaller. We're
Okay.
at 7.4.
You're going in the right direction.
1.8, 0.5, 0.2, right over
Okay,
here.
so let's say this is as close as you can get.
Okay.
So I come in with my probe. Once I've located him with the probe, then I'll pull my shovel out and we'll...
Oh! There it is!
So you were right on the money.
Victory!
Very first time. So that's a good testament to this particular transceiver because you've never
very
used
accurate.
it before and you figured it out almost on your own.
That's incredible. Without this,
That's the only way to find it.
it'd be looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. Everybody that goes out into the backcountry, recreating in avalanche terrain, they need a transceiver.
Definitely.
They need a shovel. They need a probe. And they need some education so that they hopefully don't get caught in an avalanche to begin with.
I'm sold.
Up next, testing technology for snow travel developed thousands of years ago.
This is a revelation.
And later, adventure on a wall of ice. Welcome back to Awesome Planet in Alberta, Canada. As the seasons change in Banff National Park, nature and humans have to find ways to adapt to the coldest months of the year.
We've returned to the beautiful Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise. We're just a few hundred feet outside the front door. Several feet of snow have accumulated. And while that makes walking around difficult, exploring this wilderness is possible utilizing a technology that dates back thousands of years.
Mike Vincent, a mountain guide on property, invited me to join him for a trek into this snowy landscape with the help of snowshoes.
This is a snowshoe. Most people don't actually get a chance to hold a real one.
That's almost as big as I am.
It is. It's an amazing machine. This is the North American solution for snow travel. Europeans lived in deep snow too, but they never did it. They developed that other device that is lots of fun, and I was doing it this morning.
A little skiing?
A little skiing.
Yeah.
So that's the European solution to snow travel, and this is North American. So this is Alaskan, this is called the Ojibwe, and this is a bear's paw, for obvious reasons. This is a big pack, long travel distance, straight line snowshoe when you're carrying lots of weight.
Okay.
This one's for more bushy conditions where that pointed tip is going to go through the bushes. And this one's for turning on a dime. In really tight terrain, you can just turn right around on that snowshoe.
I love that.
Mike set me up with a long-distance snowshoe for our trek into the forests surrounding Lake Louise.
If you can walk, you can snowshoe.
Exactly.
All right. Oh, my goodness. This is a revelation.
Without these on, we'd be swimming through here.
You know, there's not many things these days that a 1,000-year-old solution is just as good, if not better.
Isn't that amazing?
Than a modern-day solution.
The science behind this simple technology is weight distribution. By creating a larger imprint, weight disperses more evenly, preventing you from sinking into the deep snow.
I'm going to step out onto the snow without my snowshoe on. Let's see just how effective these things are. There we go. Well, there you have it, folks. The difference between a snowshoe and no snowshoe.
Do you think they're working?
I think they're working.
Humans aren't the only ones that have to adapt for winter. Walking through this forest leaves you in a sense of amazement for these magnificent trees that will support pounds of accumulated snow for a few months each year.
This is a pretty hostile environment in the wintertime.
This is the subalpine forest, the highest elevation forest in Canada, and they have to be adapted to these heavy snow loads, because when you look up, there's a lot of weight on these trees, and if they were oaks or elms or maples reaching up to the sky like this, their branches would be broken off that first winter, whereas these trees are growing like this, and the branches are very flexible, so they'll load up, and eventually they'll just shake it off and come up like this.
Spring back out.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Are they still photosynthesizing?
No, not in the wintertime. They're evergreen, but the tree's basically in a state of hibernation till the spring.
I see.
Another example of adaptation lives below the frozen surface of Lake Louise.
Stunning. Now beneath us is lake. This is where we were canoeing.
We were on a canoe right here.
Now, we've got how many inches of ice?
On a big year at the end of the season, there might be 3 feet of ice here.
How are the fish surviving in these frigid waters?
Yeah, and you'd think from our perspective that it is frigid, but from the fishes, it isn't. It's only the air that gets cold, not the water. So what happens is this lake is quite deep. It's 230 feet deep, so only the top 3 feet would freeze. The highest the water temperature might get in the summertime here is maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and then down to maybe 34 during the wintertime. So the fish are fairly sheltered from these radical temperature extremes that you and I are dealing with.
This journey around Lake Louise has reminded me of the breathtaking beauty of Mother Nature and its remarkable ability to survive and adapt through the harsh elements of winter.
Welcome back to Awesome Planet. Now, one of the most dynamic elements of winter is when water reaches that magical 32-degree Fahrenheit temperature and solidifies into ice.
This time of year, the mountainsides put on a visual showcase. Water, typically cascading down from these rocks, has come to a tranquil pause. I met up with Carl, a guide from Yamnuska Mountain Adventures, to see how the cold winter temperatures alter many of Banff's iconic waterfalls.
It really is. Spectacular scenery, my goodness.
Yeah.
What a beautiful place.
These limestone canyons are kind of very typical for the Rockies. It's a soft rock and tends to be very fractured, and as a result, it tends to produce these slot canyons and good seepages for water, freeze up in the winter and let us go ice climbing.
After a very icy 1-mile trek, we arrive at an incredible destination.
So this is it.
This is the canyon.
Oh my goodness.
This area is called Johnston Canyon. And this is the upper falls. So you can see kind of a playground for ice climbing.
Indeed. Oh my goodness.
Within these layers, you can even see little nuances that teach you about each section.
And you can see different colors in the ice. If you look, we see some very blue ice kind of in the cave over here. And that ice is often the most dense, pure ice, very low air and snow content, which means it's really hard, really solid. And then the other parts of the ice are much more white, which obviously has more snow and more air. And you might see where it's about to melt, it takes on a bit of a greenish tinge, so kind of along the sides of the water there, it's a little more greenish than what we see over here. And then maybe a little bit of gray ice there where we can see how thin the ice is, and there's some rock behind it that we're seeing.
So we're looking through the ice to see the gray.
Carl came prepared to get us on this dramatic frozen wall. Now, in order for me to safely climb ice, he first needs to set up a few anchor points at the top.
He's free soloing, which means he's actually climbing without any protection. He has a rope tied to him, but it's actually anchored at the bottom. So what happens is he climbs to the top with the rope, runs it through some carabiners at the top that's attached to a tree or some other sort of attachment point, and then that rope will run back down. There's been here so many times that this is the kind of thing that it's okay for him to do, definitely not for me.
Rope. Even over the course of a day, things change fast in the ice world. What we'll often see in the morning when it's really cold, as the sun comes around, the top of the climb is getting cooked in the sun, and it might be above freezing. The bottom of the climb is still here in the dark, in the shadows. It's, minus 10, minus 20. And there's a huge temperature difference between the top and the bottom. It creates so much stress in the ice that the ice is almost explosive.
Now that I know the little details to be aware of, it's time to put my climbing skills to the test.
Looks a little steeper from there, eh? It always does. It always does.
Up next, the safety line is set, and I get a chance to see just how solid this ice really is. Welcome back to Awesome Planet in Banff National Park. I'm climbing this steep cliff of frozen water.
I want to move like a rock climber, and I don't think it's good.
Well, you may have to there.
Really?
On that kind of technical grade, we start to bring in some rock moves. Nice job, Philippe. You're almost there, Bubba.
The strength needed to ascend this wall is no joke. It's a matter of precision and patience, even as your arms and legs start to move slower and slower, aching with each movement. I'm willing to admit that this was one of the hardest sports I've tried in a very long time. But the challenge was worth it once I reached the top.
Run!
Nice.
Well, first time ever ice climbing, and it was even more exciting and thrilling than I thought. It always looks a lot steeper when you're up there looking down than when you're down looking up. But it was a pretty amazing way to experience the wintertime and really get a sense of the ice and the snow here in this part of the world. It gives you a whole new appreciation for frozen water. That's for sure.